Hey everyone, my name is Karsh. I am here to talk about our new Recurly Oracle NetSuite integration. And to help me talk about this, I have Patrick from our enablement team. So I'm going to jump right in and talk about what this integration is all about. As we know, Recurly in the billing space has to work well with a lot of other players, especially your downstream ERPs. And to enable that, we have built an out-of-the-box integration that allows you to handle certain degree of customization, but more importantly, it sends Recurly information into NetSuite, is compatible with NetSuite's RevRec as well. So this way, in just a few weeks, you are able to have your Recurly instance connected to your NetSuite instance and have data syncing over, which will help you reconcile your books, close your books, and make sure you are moving at the pace you need to achieve your goals. Why does this matter? Because this is a much more simpler out-of-the-box integration that allows you to know what's going on without needing complicated consultants to explain what's happening. It's faster. We give you data more readily available, so that increases your visibility into the data. And we allow you to be flexible through this because we know every business, every setup is unique, and we want to ensure that we have built an integration that adapts to your business needs as well and scales with you. And now I'll hand it over to Patrick to talk about what are the requirements needed to use this integration and go through the details of what it does.
I'm Patrick Murray. I'm part of the professional services enablement team here at Recurly. And I'd like to just go briefly through some of the requirements we require our merchants to have before we can begin onboarding them to our Recurly for NetSuite integration. The first thing is you need to be live with NetSuite ERP or in the process with NetSuite professional services team onboarding your ERP system. On the Recurly side, we need you to have at least one unused API per subdomain that's going to be integrating between your Recurly subdomain and your NetSuite instance. And also you must be on NetSuite's One World or Standard Edition. We do require that merchants have a NetSuite Sandbox account because that is part of our user acceptance testing. And this is so we can ensure the data is flowing correctly between your Recurly and NetSuite accounts before we move to production. Finally, we need you to be on the Recurly Elite or Enterprise plan. So next I would like to kind of go through the flow, kind of talk at a very high level what this integration does. So as you can see on the slide here, this is our architecture of the Recurly for NetSuite integration. The first thing we do is we sync all of the customer accounts from Recurly to customer records in your NetSuite instance. The second sync that we do is the plan sync, which include all of your Recurly plans, add-ons, and items. And we sync those to non-inventory for sale items in your NetSuite instance. And the third sync that we perform is a transactional sync. This includes your charge invoices and your credit invoices. The charge invoices will sync to NetSuite as invoice records, while the credit invoices will sync to your NetSuite instance as a credit memo. Regarding payments and refunds, payments are going to be applied to your invoice records in NetSuite, while refunds will be applied to the credit memo in NetSuite. So that is our integration at a very high level. And next, kind of want to go through the account sync is where we pass the customer information from Recurly into NetSuite. So you can see here, the first thing is that we can sync the parent account. This is if you have like a hierarchy enabled where there's some child accounts with it. If you do have that, we sync the child accounts as well, and we sync those into NetSuite as sub-customer records. We want to do a quick demo so that you can see the account sync and then see how that looks from Recurly into NetSuite. Okay, what I wanted to show first is that we don't have this customer in our NetSuite sandbox. So I'm going to use a unique account code. Next thing I'm going to do is log into my Recurly sandbox that is connected to our NetSuite sandbox. And I'm going to create an account for this and watch how it syncs over. Now, while this is saving, see the account was created saving. Now we're going to let the integration do its magic. And so now, as you can see, I've created my customer record with the sync. Just to really show you how that looks, we can go here to our system information tab, and we can see here that We have our integration going right here. Shout out to James for setting up the integration with our Hickletown instance of our NetSuite account. But you can see right here, this is what's showing how it got created. And we've created our customer information right here. Right after we do an account sync, we do sync all plans in Recurly, all add-ons, and all items. If the merchant does have a setup fee or a free trial associated with it, those are baked into the plan. So they will all sync over to NetSuite as non-inventory items for sale. Next, kind of want to go in through how the invoice sync works. So in Recurly, there's two types of invoices that we have. First, what's called the charge invoice. This is when the merchant is renewing an existing subscription or they're doing a brand new subscription. So it's a first-time purchase. So the charge invoice will sync over to NetSuite as a invoice record. Once we receive the payment from the gateway, we will then upsert the payment into NetSuite with the customer payment record. And then we do what's called a lookup, the internal ID of the invoice. And then that's how we apply the payment to that invoice. So it closes out the book in your NetSuite instance. Next, I kind of want to go through the charge invoices and just kind of touch a little bit based on that payment. What the credit invoice is related to is if the merchant has requested a refund or you're giving some credit for any various reasons to your merchants in Recurly. When the credit invoice is created, that subsequently creates a credit memo inside of your NetSuite instance. And now there's two types of ways now that we can apply the transaction to the credit memo. If the merchant requests the refund, wants that money back, we then upsert the customer refund to the customer refund record in NetSuite. We do the same thing that we do as the payment. We look up the internal ID of the credit memo and then apply the refund to that credit memo. If for some reason the customer doesn't want the money back or you don't offer the refund back and you want to give a credit instead, that credit memo that is now inside of NetSuite gets applied to the next charge invoice. So when the customer renews their subscription and they have some credit left over, it will get applied to that new charge invoice. And then the credit memo inside of NetSuite will then start applying to that new charge invoice going forward until, there's no more credit left. So let's talk about onboarding. We have broken down the onboarding experience into 5 distinct phases. First phase being preparation, really the building phase. We have what's called a data mapping session where we work with the merchant on the different records that we're going to be syncing between Recurly and NetSuite. For example, we talked to the merchant about how we use the account code as merchant's unique ID inside of NetSuite, where we go into our phase 2, which is building out the project in our APIs that sync between Recurly and NetSuite. So we bring on our solution engineering team that helps build out these YAML files that pull in information from the data files that we built during phase 1. Phase 3, that's when we go into user testing. And this is why we require merchants to have a NetSuite sandbox account so that we can ensure the data is flowing correctly before we turn it on in production. Phase 4, that's when we actually turn it on in production. We will confirm all the information in the production account is correct, and then we turn on the sync in production, and then we provide that post-go live support to ensure that the integration is working well, having no issues, and they're starting to see real live data sync to their account. The last phase is where we talk about support. This is where we transition the merchant onto our Recurly support team. Will help enable the merchant going forward to build their business. Let's take, for example, the merchant's NetSuite instance is down for an upgrade or general maintenance and the connection is broken. They could always reach out to our Recurly support team to help them do a quick backfill of any of the data that didn't make it over while their NetSuite instance was down. We have a really good team that's helped support, make this very easy for everyone. And the Recurly team has done a really good job of taking the work off the merchants to make this seamless integration.
I think this is something that we are extremely proud to release that not only have a fantastic experience with Recurly and NetSuite together, but truly scale your business and enable you to reach new heights and just introduce next levels of efficiencies into your business. As always, if you have more questions, want to see more deeper demo into how the product works, please reach out to your AE, to your CSM, or to the PS team, and we will set you up. Thank you all for joining and listening in. Have a good day.